Brilliance Audio presents the unabridged recording of Sweet Farts by Raymond Bean, performed by Nick Podell. Preface. You know how it is at school. Kids sneak them out in perfect silence so no one can tell who did it, or dealt it, or done it. It is a mystery, unsolvable, untraceable, sourceless. Then, as the awful stench begins to reach each nostril, kids begin to eye each other. Kids begin to take notice. Kids begin to wonder. Who did it? They ask themselves silently. Of course, you can never be sure who did it, not in public. In public, everyone is a suspect. Everyone is potentially guilty. When this most delicate of situations presents itself, even when you are not the one who laid it down, the trick is not to look too surprised. Overdoing your reaction can lead to unwanted suspicion. Your look has to be just right. It must show others that you are amused and offended at the same time. Shaking your head from side to side a little and closing your eyes in disbelief is a safe way to go. You cannot, however, under any circumstances, lose your cool. You must look confident. Remaining calm is essential. I always try to smile, like I think it's funny, or make a face like I'm disgusted. These strategies come with some dangers, though, because if you start to smile too much, you look guilty. If you look too disgusted, guilty again. We all know that the last thing you want to appear is guilty when there is a horrible, smelly fart loose in the room. In those first few moments after everyone gets a dose, it's pure survival. Someone in the area is responsible, and everyone knows that. So, of course, it could be blamed on anyone. The person who did it isn't going to raise his or her hand and say, "It was me, everyone. I'm the one who just stunk up the place." We all know that many innocent bystanders have been blamed for someone else's fart. The kid who lets out a real stinker frequently is the type of kid who is prepared to blame it on someone else. This type of kid looks for that one person who gets embarrassed easily and then tries to cast suspicion his way. Once the farter casts suspicion on the embarrassed kid, no one stops to think it could be someone else. It happens every day, and it is tragic. Chapter 1. The Cruelest of Fates. There's not much worse in this life than taking the blame for someone else's fart. It is an injustice as old as farts themselves, which must, I guess, be as old as human history. I'm sure people have been bouncing farts off the walls of dimly lit caves since the days of the caveman. Today, someone silently slipped one off a blue plastic chair in my 4th grade class, and I'm afraid it was my turn to take the blame. But it wasn't me. I swear. I was at my desk for our morning meeting in class. My teacher, Mr. Cherub, insists on meeting every morning to talk about our feelings and what's going on in our lives. He was just getting started when I realized something was wrong. I got a whiff of it before anyone else. I couldn't be sure where it had come from. Panic immediately grabbed hold of me as my heart began to race. Something was wrong. Something was horribly wrong. At first, I wasn't sure. Maybe it wasn't what I thought. But then I took another sniff and confirmed my worst fears. Someone had gone and dropped a stank bomb. That somebody was the person right in front of me. Anthony Pappas. How could I possibly be expected to think with the stench of Anthony clobbering my nostrils? He turned around to check the clock on the wall behind us, and I gave him a look that conveyed, "You're killing me! Please don't do that ever again!" Anthony looked right at me, and in front of everyone said, "You're gross!" I couldn't believe it. People were actually staring at me with disgusted stares. Austin, who sits at the desk next to me, opened his eyes really, really wide and pointed at me. Tiffany, who sits in front of Austin, held her nose and put her face down on her desk. As I looked around the room, every kid in my class was looking at me like I was responsible. Some smiled, some looked shocked, and some just shook their heads. Now, I happen to be the kind of kid who embarrasses easily. The more